Yeah.
The Hopis believed in their history or in their storytelling in four worlds or cycles.
Yeah.
And each one was destroyed because of man's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in the fourth world and we have a fourth cycle, which is, according to them, coming to an end. Now my question is that, since this is their history, does the Maya have any mythology based on the past, on their history, their origin, in their cycle?
Yeah, there is a parallel. It's basically the Hopi and the Maya, they both have this world age doctrine where they have, 4, sometimes people say 5 worlds. It's the idea that human beings pass through different chapters or phases of growth. And it's interesting that the Hopi are sort of like aligned with the timing of this. And what's interesting is that it's in the Maya material where in their creation mythology, the Popol Vuh, the hero twin myth, that does have the world age information in it, similar to the Hopi information. But the creation myth was invented at the same time that the Long Count Calendar was, at this early site called Izapa. So they go together. The mythology tells the story of the world ages and the rebirth process and so on, but it's connected to the Long Count Calendar, which encodes the astronomy. So amazingly, we actually have the empirical anchor of the process, this galactic alignment. So we understand why they're talking about our times, and they believe that it's our times because of when this alignment happens. As the time when there's a great turning of the world ages going to happen. Yeah?
I'm reading your book, My Cosmic Genesis 2012, and trying to understand what you're presenting and what the meaning of this is, according to you and the minds. And I'm understanding that it has to do with the 26,000-year precession, and not the distance which our solar system is to the galactic center. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why the Mayans and why other ancient mystery school teachings saw such a significance in the 26,000-year precession, and why they thought it would affect human consciousness.
Yeah. This gets into some deep esoteric stuff, but it's very interesting. I think it generally has to do with this idea of as above, so below. And to perceive the interrelationship between the above and the below, or the inner and the outer, the subjective and the objective, all the dualities, to perceive the inherent unity of these two domains requires a kind of initiation into a higher consciousness that the ancient mystery schools were responsible for. And you have something similar in the Maya world because they were shamans. And I believe there were initiatory rites that involved, altering the consciousness as shamans would do to have a direct experience or glimpse of this higher unitary state. So, to understand the vast cycles of time and the, like for example, the precession of the equinoxes was sort of like a unavoidably seductive pursuit, you might say, because it was tied almost to their need to understand the deepest spiritual truth, in a sense. Now, I think there's a model that can be presented that has to do with the 26,000-year precessional process, because over that process, if you use the December solstice sun as the key to this, which is kind of the key seasonal quarter because it's when, the time of the greatest darkness and the transitional between the years. If you use that as the key, you can see how in these alignment processes, the December solstice sun is moving into alignment with the center of our Milky Way galaxy. That's another way to talk about this alignment, what's happening right now. Basically, where the sun is aligning right now is also the location of the nuclear balls of the galactic center. And so in this process, it's like the sun falls away from that center, and then it comes back around, and then it comes back into union with it. So it's a symbol of how cycles work in nature. All cycles in nature have a period of increase and a period of decrease. And I think this maps on to the what is seen to be in traditional, ancient traditional wisdom doctrines as, the forgetting phase and then the remembering phase, like the fall of mankind out of the Garden of Eden. But then there's a reconnection that happens, like an awakening, a coming back into understanding of the true nature of things. This is part of the world age doctrine as well. These ideas are not very popular in our modern science. They're associated with, superstitions and astrology or some kind of stuff like that. But they're actually, the way that I filter this, I see all this through the lens of what's referred to as the perennial philosophy, the primordial tradition, which is very profound work that's been done by philosophers. It's connected to the Vedanta philosophy, or Dzogchen, which sees the relationship between the two domains. So I think that this is a very convoluted answer to your question, but you triggered some thoughts for me there, and I think it has to do with seeing precession as the great shifting armature of the heavens, and to understand our place inside of that process was seen to be sort of like having the key to understanding reality. Do we have any more questions? Oh, well.
Oh, hi. Quetzalcoatl, could you speak to that? And could you also speak to the mind game and the significance of the hoop and the ball?
Great, yeah, great.